Welcome back to Warhub 09. It's been a while since I've put a new video up, so I've been kind of busy. The weather's been nice, so been outside quite a lot, so I haven't been doing a lot of painting. So in the interim, I thought I'd do a video on some miniatures I've first painted when I got back into doing painting Citadel miniatures again, and that was my Blood Bowl team. So I've got my Gouged Eye Orcs here to show you. And I'm going to start at the back. We've got the linesman at the back, and I'm going to go through each one and just give them a little spin. So I really enjoyed painting these because it helped me kind of get back into understanding all the different techniques you use when you're painting, and also some new techniques that had kind of been developed when I wasn't painting. One of those was wet blending on the flesh. Back in the day, when I was painting orcs, you would do a base coat, and then you'd thin down. We didn't have shade paints back in the days, so you'd thin down your paints with water, and then add a bit of black to make it a little bit darker, and then wash that over the top, and that would be the wash. And then after you'd finished doing that, you'd obviously let it dry, and then you'd dry brush even the flesh tones. So it was really hard to try and get a finish that matched what was being shown in White Dwarf. I spent many years trying to perfect doing that, and I'd never really got that close. I got quite good at it, but yeah, it almost seemed impossible. So the modern day painting techniques and paints and washes and the different technical paints that we all have, it makes such a difference, and it adds so much more depth to the hobby now. I really enjoy it. This is my thrower. You can see the wet blending technique on the skin. It really adds so much depth to the model when you can use proper shades and add proper highlights to it. And also back in the day when you were basing miniatures, nowadays we like to use lots of different materials to make it look like the figures are sitting on, you know, some proper terrain. In those days, it was recommended you just cover your base in a bit of glue, dip it in some sand, and then wash and dry brush the sand. So that's what we used to do quite a lot. This is my first Blitzer. I really love his face mask. He's got like a bronze coppery mask on. He's nicked off some, he's blitzed out the way. And I love the way the figure itself, it looks like he's running towards you. It really looks like there's a lot of action in that miniature. And the same again with his buddy. I used a different colour on the helmet plume just to pick them out, differentiate the miniatures. And then these are the Black Orcs, the blockers, the big guys. And you get a real sense of how big and powerful these creatures are when you look at that figure. You see that bearing down on you. Quite fearsome. And there's his buddy, number 10. Give him a little spin. There we are. So, that was my Gouged Eye Blood Bowl team. It did remind me when I was painting these figures, I managed to find my original from this box set Gouged Eye figure. This is the only one I've got left from the whole team, and basically they were all painted in the same way, so they all looked exactly the same like this guy. He just looks like he's a little bit cross, doesn't he? But it just reminded me of some of the techniques that we used back then. So you can see that the wash isn't quite as good as it should be. It's just because it's a watered down version of the base paint I used, mixed in with a little bit of a darker colour. And then I've dry brushed a kind of yellow over the top because we didn't have lighter shades of green back in those days. You just got one colour for each of the colours. So you had a green, a yellow, a black, a white, a red and a blue, and that was essentially it, and you had to mix up everything else yourself. So that was my Gouged Eye guy, and you can see a technique in there that I was reminded of because recently I've managed to acquire a copy of the out of print Warhammer Fantasy Battle edition 3 of the rules, and I was reading through it because I used to love reading this book. I spent hours reading this book. I took it on holiday and read it the whole time. I used to love it. One of the things it mentions in there, it has a bit of information on painting, and I remember reading this bit, and yeah, it mentions black lining, and back in those days, they actually recommended that a simple form of shading used to emphasise contrast, basically any change in colour or material, is marked by painting a black line or a very dark shade of some other colour. For example, where a model's hand appears from its cuff. A black line is painted where the two join to emphasise that. So that's why when I painted this, you can see every single area where one bit joins another, you've got a black line, and that was the recommended technique. I don't see it much these days. I don't know if anyone still does that, but I know that when we're doing our shading, we do like to kind of, when we do an edge highlight on Space Marines, I'm going to do a video on my Space Marines next, my Primaris Marines. You kind of have a dark line around some of the armour areas and whatnot, but yeah, it just reminded me that kind of every single thing had a black line around it back in those days. So that was just a little bit of trivia for you. Anyway, that's it. That's my video for today. Hope you enjoyed meeting the Gouged Eye, and I will get back to building that war elephant very soon and post another video soon. Thank you for watching. Cheers. Bye.
bensound.com. bensound.com.